I don't know, maybe the kids is dumb because y'all took away all the things that kids had to compete for. Like, y'all took out every single competition in school because you don't want kids to feel left out. People need to feel left out.
So many teachers have been airing out what parents have been talking about, what they've been saying about the school system, about teaching, and things like that. Now, parents are starting to speak out against it, and check out these videos and let me know what you think, if the parents are right, if the teachers are right, how this looks, but would love to hear what you have to say in the comments.
6 reasons why we homeschool our children in 60 seconds. Let's do it. Number 1, I'm not letting the school system raise my kids. They're learning more TikTok dances than they actually do mathematics in there. Be like, in the middle of the hallway. Number 2, my kids don't need permission to go to the bathroom. This is a house, not a prison camp. 3, we teach real life skills: cooking, cleaning, discipline, why small little habits matter, communication skills, sales, entrepreneurship, spirituality, not memorize this for a test that you'll forget tomorrow. Number 4, socialization. My children have 5, soon to be 6, other siblings, and they have communities they can interact with. They're more social than kids who talk to no one except for their iPad all the time. Number 5, we control our own environment. We don't bully. We don't have bad agendas. We're not worried about teachers stressed out, being underpaid, and now taking it out on the kids. It's us. And last but not least, our kids grow at their own pace, not whatever speed the school system forces them to. There's no comparison. There's no labels. There's no limits to their growth. We don't homeschool to isolate our children. We homeschool to elevate them. Boom! Saved you confusion, judgment, and one angry PTA meeting. Now Venmo or PayPal me $5. Better yet, download the 7-8 Life Reset.
I just received an email from my kid's school to let me know that their reports are now not going to have comments on them. Sick. Now I have to try and figure out how he's doing, looking at the little graphy thingies and little dots. And if I want to comment, I've got to go to the parent-teacher meeting. So that's great.
In honor of teachers dragging bad parents who refuse to play part in their children's education, I would like to share my story of how the opposite happened to me when my parents stepped in when I had a really math teacher and they nearly got her fired. I was a very good student, honors student, my whole life until I got to about high school, when all of a sudden I can't do math. I don't understand math and numbers, so I was booted from honors math to regular math. Instead of these super serious teachers with super serious students, I was in a less strict class with a much less strict teacher. One day I was trying to hustle from my homeroom to my math class. My math teacher was like, yeah, there's always kids hanging out outside. She kind of assumed I was one of them and told me when I walked in the room a split second late that my 2 options were take a detention or stand up on a desk in front of all the students and sing 10 Little Indians. You remember that song? I was wearing a dress. And no, I wasn't going to do that. I was like, I'll see you for detention. I was probably 14 going on 15. I did try to explain to her that I wasn't purposefully being late because I didn't care about being on time. It's because I was racing to get there and I didn't make it. And I remember coming after class, copying entries in her math dictionary. And she was like, well, guess you won't be late again. And I was like, I guess not. And I went home and I told my parents. Here's the thing. My parents are both educators in the state that I lived in. My mother is a terrifying woman. My father started an adult education nonprofit for adults in our state. I was a good girl. I was a straight A student, honors kid. Yes, all of that. So this has never happened to me before. We've never had this happen before. But when I told my parents what had happened to me, I thought they were going to laugh. They didn't think it was funny at all, in fact. My mom wasted no time getting on the phone with not only the principal, but the superintendent. Said, I want a meeting immediately tomorrow with myself, my husband, the principal, the teacher in question, and whoever runs her department. Who's the head of her department? And if you can get the superintendent in the room too, that would be great. That's what my mom said. I was terrified. I remember the next day, I was scared because I was like, what are they going to do to this woman? All I know is that my mom starts and she reads this woman the riot act and she just nails her, all of her superiors in front of the principal, in front of the math department head, and just like reads her for unprofessionalism, okay? I find out later when they're telling me what happened that my mom was the opening act. My dad is actually the main event. Said, ma'am, I don't know if you know what I do for a living, but for the past 30 years, I've been teaching adults continuing ed. I've been helping adults get their GED, get their associates, get their bachelors, teach them how to write, how to read, all of these skills that they should have learned in high school. Do you want to know what all of them have in common in my 30 plus years of teaching adults continuing education? They all had a teacher like you. They all had a teacher who, instead of doing something in their best interest for the student's sake to help them succeed, they chose to humiliate them. And for a lot of these kids, it might be the one thing that breaks their back. It's just the one thing that they can't handle, because you don't know what's going on at home and you don't know what's going on outside of school, if these kids have jobs, if these kids have other problems. He's like, but they all end up coming to my classroom in the end. And they always have a story about one teacher in high school. And he's like, I know that you don't think that what you're doing is as serious as what I'm saying. He's like, but considering that I'm the teacher they see years after they go through a teacher like you, trust me when I say you shouldn't be having students embarrassing themselves on their desk singing songs for you. I tell you, my parents came home and said that the principal banned her from ever doing that again and took it very seriously. And the teacher was so nice to me after that.
I don't know, maybe the kids is dumb because y'all took away all the things that kids had to compete for. Like, y'all took out every single competition in school because you don't want kids to feel left out. People need to feel left out. That's how you put fire. I was in school, we had the 100-book challenge. You had to read at least 100 books in, like, I think it was a month or in a marking period. I can't remember. So mind you. They couldn't just be like regular cat in the hat books or like 4 or 5 page books. No. Depending on your reading level, another contest. You had to read 100 books in your skill level. Now, it starts from like red, blue, black, green, like the high level books, like the chapter books. I'm talking Harry Potter. You had to be like either a purple or black, right? Everyone wanted to be a purple or black. How you got to purple or black, your teacher had to assess your reading live in class. Yeah, you was standing up at the front of the class reading a book. Right? These kids don't have a competitive bone in their body because y'all don't make them compete for. There's no superiority in the classroom. All right? There used to be perks for the smart kids. Whoever got the highest grade in the class got to be the line leader. You know what I'm saying? You got to be the board eraser. Or like there was something to reward you. Now everything is just for everybody and we got to include everybody in everything and blah, 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 blah. That's why the kids can't read the word silhouette.
So, today, the school have absolutely outdone themselves. My little girl's got a new teacher, and she's not getting on with him, and for the last few weeks, she keeps saying stuff to me like, today my teacher said, I'm more powerful than you, and I can do what I want, and I kind of thought, let's take it with a pinch of salt. And then she drew on her hand, and he told her she was going to get skin cancer, and today, they rung me about 3:20 before I collected her and they said, can you come in for a meeting due to an incident? I said, yeah, no problem. So I've got there and they've sat me down and they said, well, today there was an incident occurred, so we stopped her from swimming. And I said, okay, what happened? Well, she didn't want to walk with her partner to the swimming pool. And we said we won't change her partner because if we change her partner, we have to do it for other children. And my little girl said, but this person was hitting me. And I said, did she tell you that? And they said, yes, but we still can't change her partner. So my little girl distanced herself and she walked a little bit further nearer to the road. And they said to her, move away from the curb for safety. And she said, but I don't want to walk with my partner, who's hitting me. And they said, well, we still can't change you. It's tough. So they decided to take her swimming away from her and take her back to school. So I said to them, at what point did you think this was acceptable? Surely you should have moved the child. There has been consistent issues with this child where he keeps being horrible to her. He's physically harming her. And he said, well, I can't do that. It's just something I can't do because the other children will ask. I said, but the other children aren't asking and you have to deal with each situation individually. And you're telling me that my child should be put up with being hit. And then when she's distanced herself, you've said to her, you're not safe. And you've taken her swimming away from her. Also swimming that I separately paid for her to attend. So I sat and had a meeting and he was telling me this and I kind of questioned his teaching skills and the way he managed it and it wasn't very positive. And this teacher sat here and he said to me, excuse me, but I have the authority here, not you. Which shocked me as I'm her mum and I'm sitting there asking him questions. Also as someone who is educated and has a very good understanding around children and their behaviours. He further went on to give me statistics about death if children get hit by cars and that it was a snap decision to take away her swimming due to safety because they didn't have enough teachers to take the children to the swimming anyway, and they were managing, which furthermore to me makes no sense, because if you had no teachers to take to the swimming, that's not the child's fault. And then he sent her back to school with a whole teacher, which would have put the other children at risk, in my mind. When I sat and had a meeting with this teacher, he completely mocked me, said I can do what I want with the authority that I have. I then went on to ask him about other things that had and punishments. So recently my child was also had a consequence for giggling in the classroom, which I know can be disruptive, but also they are only 8, giggling will occur. So she had to sit out of the classroom in a room by herself and face a wall in the corner. I complained about this and they told me it would never happen again. And then last week it happened again. And I'm just like, what are the schools playing at? Like, if you're a teacher and you can't manage the behaviour, then you shouldn't be there.
So yesterday, my 7-year-old had a fever and couldn't go to school. And in the morning, when I took his 5-year-old brother and I left him there, came home in the evening, I went back to pick him up from school. And I had to take my 7-year-old with me. And the headmistress was stood outside. And she said to Ethan, she said, "Oh, are you feeling better now?" And Ethan said, "No, I'm not really feeling very well." And she said, "Oh, well, tomorrow, tell your dad to bring you to school with Calpol, and we'll give you the Calpol in school as and when you need it." And I turned around to the head teacher and I said, if he's not well, he's not coming. If he needs medication, he's not coming to school. It's as simple as that. I said, why would you want him to come to school ill and give him medication? Is it because you care more about your Ofsted report? Is it because you care more about his attendance than whether he's actually well or not? I said, I'm not going to put my son through that. I'm not teaching him like I have to do at the minute. Go to work when I feel ill, because if I don't go, I don't get paid. I'm not teaching him that. I want to teach them something else. And I said, and I'm going to tell you another thing. As soon as I leave work, I'm taking the kids out of school, because this attitude absolutely stinks. And her mouth was just closed. She couldn't say anything.
Many parents have lost faith in the school system, in teachers themselves, and a lot of teachers have been talking against parents and their teaching styles at home. Parents now are coming out and saying, well, maybe it's not all about what parents are doing at home or aren't doing at home. Parents are claiming that there was a time when teachers were more in control of their classrooms, and that's independent of what was happening at home. I'm wondering what you think about this, whether it's the school system that's just in shambles, or it's the teachers that are really having the issues, or whether it really is the parents that have the biggest problem. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.